Hi there guys, Octavian here, and this is going to be yet another episode of Challenger Casts. I've determined that I'm going to be doing an episode of 100 casts every other day with Challenger Casts episodes or Duo Cast episodes, since I am going to be starting that series up once again, filling in the gaps in between. So that's what you can expect from the channel from now outwards until the end of time, as we see the Flay landing onto Styxiax there. I am Matt Life, getting some good damage onto the enemy Vayne, but it looks like he's a bit outnumbered at this point. The Dark Binding does connect from Smoothie. Very nice. Three-man Flay might be able to save his life here. Not enough damage coming out to finish him off. Odd1 flashes forward, but gets hit by the Assault and Battery by Doc XM. Now they're going to keep on chasing right on back, because they have all 5 members of Blue Team here. They are chasing down with blood in their eyes. Flash forward from iWin now. He took the stun first. He gets the first blood, because Odd1 no longer had his flash to be able to escape with. That is first blood going over to Blue Team. They're going to head on back to base, maybe pick up some extra potions for that Lucian. That's going to be quite nice. Going to translate right into a longsword. Denny certainly going to be happy with that in the lane. 10 extra AD, especially in a lane where you're already supposed to win the laning phase. Lucian is still, even after some of his nerfs, a little bit of a lane bully, and Vayne, of course, is not. Vayne having one of the weakest laning phases in the game. So gonna be even more dominant now, just with that addition of 10 flat AD onto that already fairly stifling lane for his opponents. But we could swap over to some of the other lanes now, talk about them. It looks like in the middle lane it's going to be a LeBlanc facing off against an Ahri. Very, very high kill pressure in that lane coming from both sides. It's a pair of incredibly high damage, incredibly aggressive, high mobility assassins that are just going to want to blow each other up. But it looks like we might have a little bit of a duel down in the bottom lane. Tumble forward from Styxiax, takes a few auto attacks from Thresh as well, and it's not so much a duel as just a trade of auto attacks continually from both sides. The Flay doesn't land onto anybody, and since this is a level 1 fight, that was really important. The one spell that Matt Life had didn't quite connect, and so it looks like Denny and Matt Life are going to be coming out a little bit behind on the trade. Nice tumble there, but does not have it anymore to avoid the hook. The Ignite is dropped. The Flay lands as well. Flash burned from the Vayne, already getting forced away from that lane. Gets the early level 2. Very well done by the blue side bottom lane. Now we have Win Now and Highlight Reel going out onto the top lane. Just a little bit more damage would have brought him down, but Highlight Reel did not have anything else to follow up with. A few more Karma auto attacks would have done the trick, but he had gotten a bit too close to the tower. And he had that Pantheon passive to block out one of the critical auto attacks. Even against a lane like Karma, where you wouldn't expect the auto attacks to mean all that much, it can certainly help quite a bit. Anyways, we swap back down to the bottom lane where Hook lands. Smoothie is spell immune, though. And Matt Life probably wouldn't have gone under the tower with that. Anyways, just looking to get some harass out. The real big issue down in the bottom lane here is the fact that Styxiax is incredibly low on Vayne already. I mean, this is what I was talking about. That 10 AD boost, not only did it help Denny in the 2v2 fights, it also helped him push a little bit faster since his piercing lights were doing that much extra damage. Nice hook lands under the tower, and the spell shield is not going to help anything. Prevents magic damage, not bolts of piercing light. And that is going to be another kill going over to Denny, since it was in fact him who picked up that first blood. And these high-level Challenger Master Tier games, you can certainly see how a small lead can just snowball onwards and onwards. Up in the top lane, Doc XM going right onto Mr. Highlight Reel, forcing him to flash into the tower, flashing afterwards, perhaps a little bit late on hitting that D or F key, whichever one he chooses to use. But there's the binding landing along with the proc from the Sigil. Flash forward for the auto attack. Piglet picks up the kill onto JL, who got a little bit too aggressive there towards the tower. He'd been doing pretty well in that lane, but he allowed himself to get bound in place, and he was way too close to the tower to be able to really fight back. If he had thrown out an Orb Deception or even a Charm, the tower would have aggroed right onto him, and that tower shot would have proved just as fatal as the Ignite and the auto attack. So it was really a no-win situation. Very well played by Curse Piglet. TheOddone roaming around in his jungle. He's got that vision buff that the Razor Beaks give, so gonna be really helpful for him. He's wandering into the enemy jungle, and because, I mean, obviously we know, being the all-knowing, omniscient beings in spectator mode, which we are, that there's no wards in that enemy jungle. But now that knowledge has been passed on to Odd1, because sometimes when the buff from the pigeons, the chickens, the razorbeaks, whatever it is you want to call them, when the buff from that camp doesn't proc, sometimes that's just as valuable as when it does. But anyways, down at the bottom side, looks like Doc XM going for his second gank of the game, smites onto Styxiax to get that slow. That is the value of picking up that instead of the Ranger's Trailblazer. Allows you just that one extra CC. If he hadn't gone with that particular version of Smite, would have ended up not getting that kill because Vayne had been able to tumble away from the Flay and had created enough distance that that one extra CC was exactly what was needed, just what the doctor prescribed. Doc XM, in fact, prescribed it, and so he got the kill. Odd1 still wandering through the enemy jungle. Might have been a little bit of a mistake, though. Doc XM finds him out, and the damage from the Raptor camp over the wall. Gonna be finishing that Kha'Zix off. Getting a little bit of help from her own jungle, that Vi is. Just jungle itself doesn't want to be counter-jungled. Ooh, that was close. If that had connected, would have been a big chunk of damage. Karma's empowered Q in the early game does so much damage. The base damage for Karma, when empowered by her mantra, is pretty insane, which is one of the reasons why she actually makes a decent top laner. And that's a pick which I haven't really had time to talk about up until this point. It's been fairly action-packed for a Master or Challenger tier game. Just usually they're a little bit less action-filled in the early game, at least in terms of action which results in kills, because people don't make as many mistakes. They don't open themselves up to the opportunity for the enemy to kill them off as often. So I'm sorry about the occasional frame drops. I've been having some issues with fraps recently. I'm thinking of looking into using some other recording software, but right now I haven't had the time to get anything else to work. So, ooh, nice hook lands. Spell immune, but the Flay comes through anyway because MatLife has been maxing that hook first. Very intelligent right there. That way, when the hook lands, if Smoothie doesn't choose to counteract by maxing Spell Shield first, or at least putting a second point into Spell Shield, then the hook will do enough damage that the hook CC won't land, but it will have broken through the magic damage enough that perhaps one more auto attack with that empowered auto attack, and then the Flay's gonna work. Because once you deal enough magic damage to get rid of that shield, then you can CC somebody. Win now, getting burnt down by the damage from Highlight Reel. The Ignite is burning as well. He finally wears off, and he's going to be just go back to farming minions while he waits for Doc XM to pick up the assist for him onto Highlight Reel, but he's proving a little bit difficult to catch up to. The Q from Karma not going to be finishing off Pantheon as Doc XM finally catches up to his prey and brings down the kill, giving the assist over to Pantheon up there in the top lane. And I would like to return to that top lane for just a moment, just take a look at some of the builds. It looks like we have 2 books in the inventory of Highlight Reel and 2 swords in the inventory of Win Now, so we shall truly see whether the pen is mightier than the sword in the next time we see those 2 fight off. Though, to be fair, there's also 2 Doran's Ring sitting in the pockets of Highlight Reel, and that's going to make a big difference, especially the health, more so than the AP. Karma's base values are really good, and her AP scaling isn't amazing. It's good enough. She certainly does a lot of damage with a lot of AP, but she doesn't have the best AP scaling. It's more about the base values with her, so having that extra health is going to help her out a lot more in these duels than having a bit more AP would have. Hook flies out, goes wide in between both members of the enemy bot lane there, so MatLife scoring a field goal on that one, getting a few points for that, but no gold, which is what he's really after, since this is League of Legends and not American football. Denny killing off some minions, getting that gold. And it's quieted up a little bit on the map here, so we can take a moment to look down at some of the builds once again. Looks like both junglers going for fairly aggressive starts so far as the hook flies out and gets tumbled away from and spell shielded. That hook was not going to do anything. They were determined to make sure that that hook did not do anything. Cursed Piglet ignited and caught a little bit out of position. He has no more distortions to get away. One more auto attack from JL, gonna turn around and pick up a kill for himself. 1-1 in that bottom lane. Both sides have a kill. Both sides have a death. Ooh, the box dropped, but it doesn't actually proc onto anybody. And Kha'Zix is going for the kill in the middle lane. Odd1 takes a few tower shots before being forced to back away. Not quite able to finish off the low health Ahri, as Doc XM is looking for a gank of his own down in bottom side. There's the lantern. MatLife pulls in his friendly AD carry as Vi pulls out her ulti right onto the unfriendly one. Vayne going to be falling over, getting another kill under Denny's belt. That is his 4th of the game. He's finished off a U moves already, not even 10 minutes in. Win now up in the top lane, fighting it off with Highlight Reel, and that is what I was talking about right there. Those 2 Doran's Rings are doing a lot of work. He actually just has more health in these trades. They're doing approximately equal damage to one another. the Brutalizer really, really heavy on the damage for Pantheon. That's going to help him quite a bit. But on the other hand, Karma has all of that extra health from the Doran's rings, as well as the ability to shield herself during these duels, so she can just stay more healthy in these duels than Pantheon can. So over a prolonged period, she's going to be winning them, especially considering that Karma's empowered W, you'll often see Karma's empower their Q since it does the most damage, but ooh, looks like we might have a hook here. It does land, predicts correctly where Highlight Reel's going to be dodging around. He flashes forward for the Q though. He knows he's dead, so he doesn't even try to escape with the flash. Instead, he uses it aggressively to trade 1-for-1 in kills, at least getting something out of the unfriendly support and jungler coming up to his lane. Ooh, binding lands onto Denny. He dashes forward right into it, so he kind of pulls it along with him. It's always interesting, the graphical glitches that can happen sometimes with movement and CC. OddOne is a ninja. Oh, he's been found out, so he's going to go into the 1v1 with Vi off to the side. Meanwhile, Smoothie is cut out, and he's going to be forced to flash over the wall just to escape. OddOne now trying to be a ninja once more, but the dragon is going to give him away. Stickzack's now going to be brought down for the double kill from Denny, and he's looking to get a triple. The shutdown goes to Vayne, off to the side onto Vi, as Pantheon ult is going to be sky-falling right in onto the dragon. That team fight going overall over to blue team, picking up 3 kills, 2 of them going onto Denny, putting him at 6-0-2. This Lucian is becoming terrifying. But one of them did go over to Vayne. It was a shutdown as well. So things are starting to look really grim here for red team, but it's not entirely over yet. And I mean, it's never really entirely over until, well, a victory or a defeat screen shows up on your monitor. But it's not close to being entirely over either. It's starting to get there, but they do have the late game power of Vayne, as well as honestly the early game power of a Karma who's doing quite well in her lane. Even on CS, has a kill. That's really enough for Karma to actually be a threat, especially considering the incredibly high base values that Karma can have. So just building some CDR, getting a decent amount of AP, but doesn't need tons, and she's going to hurt a lot in the early game. But Piglet, speaking of hurting a lot in the early game, this LeBlanc somehow is doing tons of work. The new Morella Nomicon, an incredibly valuable item, and it looks like that power spike is indeed happening. Piglet instantly deleting the Vi there, finding her out in the jungle along with OddOne. Some good plays, getting a good catch. This is what they need to come back into this game. And it looks like Piglet's going for another one, the double chain. 2 chains right now. The Ignite dropped as well, swapping around just to confuse Win now, trying to get him to lay down that cone in the wrong direction, and he does indeed get the kill. Piglet doing his best to try and keep his team happy and in this game, trying to keep it in reach of their grasp, if not quite in their grasp yet. However, he did pay for his absence from the middle lane. Matlife and Jael, along with Denny, were pushing up the middle lane, and the trio of them were able to bring down the turret in fairly short order, so that is going to be some more global gold going over to the side of blue team, and it's going to be a little bit difficult if things continue on in this trend. A few picks for your LeBlanc is a great thing. It's exactly what LeBlanc needs to keep in the game. But there's the hook landing on the Highlight Reel. The Lantern tossed out as well onto Doc XM, just in case he needs that mobility to catch up to Highlight Reel if he decides to flash away in that direction. But Flash was down, and so is all of his hit points now. That is a 30-second death timer that... they're starting to rack up at this point. Highlight Reel is going to be going through that as the hook from Matlife nearly lands onto Piglet. Very, very close there. Not that... I don't think he had enough follow-up to actually bring Piglet down, but it still would have been an impressive hook coming max range out of the jungle off to the side. But we have a little bit of a quiet moment on the map, so it'll be a good time to look down and look at some of the builds that are going on. Vayne, still building into her Blade of the Ruined King. Always a good place to go as a first item, Vayne. It's one of the best items that Vayne can pick up. It just synergizes with her so well. Her short range means that she's basically always going to be in range to be able to use the active. The fact that a lot of people love to dive on a Vayne means the active is even better. But there's Denny caught out of position. The 2 chains as well as the sigil going to be bringing him incredibly well. Flash forward from Styx Rakes, and that is the second shutdown gold he's picked up of the game. Ooh, stun against the wall for a win now. He's going to be dropping the Ignite onto Styx Ranks and picking up the kill coming from the top lane with that Grand Skyfall. Now he might be in trouble off to the side, though. Odd1 has caught him out, and he gets deleted by the Ahri, brought down nearly instantly, and the final auto attack comes from Pantheon. Overall, a 1-for-2 trade so far, and JL wants to make a little bit more out of it. He's taken some good damage, though. Piglet gets flayed. He gets flayed out of his distortion. Wonderfully played from MatLife, stopping him from killing off his friendly mid laner. Now he's going to flash forward, but he goes for the clone. Whew, he was doing so well, and then he just goes and right-clicks on the wrong LeBlanc. But still, beautiful flay. Overall, though, going to be about an even trade, I think. Yeah, Vi went down as well, so that is a 2-for-2 trade. Overall, could have been worse, though. MatLife, with some amazingly timed Thresh play, does manage to save Ahri's life. So well played there. Well played by both sides. Piglet, really good positioning, sitting around in that enemy jungle looking to get the ambush, and did indeed pull it off. Getting that kill onto Denny was a really big deal, especially picking it up onto Styxiax, who's going to be the late-game bastion for the side of Red Team. Meanwhile, though, Denny has been pushing up in the top lane, while Odd1's caught out in the middle lane. If they keep on going like this, it's going to be really bad. DocXM does not quite actually get his ult off onto the enemy Vayne, since it was a spell-shielded enemy Vayne, so he wasn't quite able to get the CC off. He did get next to him, but that wasn't really enough. And now MatLife is fishing for the hook. Very nice sidestep there. Just dodges back and forth around the Dark Binding as Piglet lands a little bit of poke back onto him. Denny did get the turret up in top lane, which I was mentioning before we saw the Assault and Battery, and MatLife going to be flying onto Piglet, but he leaps over the wall with Flash sometime around the middle of that hook. So there is a short point after you get hit by the hook, but before Thresh actually reaches you, where you can do something if it's instantaneous. If it has a cast time, you can't actually do it, but something that's instantaneous, you can do. But Mr. Highlight Reel gonna be going down to the damage from Denny. Kha'Zix gets the revenge kill onto Thresh, who did jump in under the turret to make that happen, and Smoothie forced to flash away after the charm lands onto him. It was a little bit dangerous there. I don't know if the flash was entirely necessary, but better safe than sorry. Trading a flash for being able to live is usually the best thing. Piglet forced to use his ulti to escape from an engage from DocXM, who's doing a surprising amount of damage. This Vi has built fairly heavy into the damage, has got the Warrior enchantment, if my eyes do not deceive me, which I don't think they do, and looks to be going for the Dragon here. Win now, and Vi going to be bringing that one down. That is going to be the first Dragon of the game going over to Blue Team, so that buff is going to be a fairly important one. The Dragon has become incredibly good at snowballing winning teams even further into the lead. Slow lands onto Styxiax, and the leap from Pantheon going to be coming in right behind him. His death is going to follow shortly right into the Morgana's death as Mr. Highlight Reel caught a little bit in the jungle, but MatLife didn't have the backup that he thought he did, so Highlight Reel's just going to be able to speed himself away with that Karma Shield, while the rest of Blue Team goes to the bottom lane and gives it a little bit of a push. They've gotten up to the turret, and they're going to be bringing it down. Up in top lane, minions have been doing some good work, and that turret goes down, and actually the minion wave is entirely gone down here, where Piglet has been clearing it out with distortion after distortion, so they're going to be forced to back away, Blue Team, and head on back home to base, but they're going to probably spend some items, spend some gold, get some items, and come on back to the lanes even more powerful than ever. Yeah, that's the Infinity Edge finished off by Denny's Lucian, as well as Boots 2, which is a fairly big deal, but the Infinity Edge is a much bigger one. That is a huge item now. Ever since its buff, Infinity Edge has been at the core of pretty much every single AD carries build because it's just so very powerful, even just all on its own. Along with the extra crit chance and activatable attack speed from Yumu's Ghostblade, it's going to make Denny an absolute terror in any team fight that comes along. So, well trinketed right there, by the way, from Denny. Blue trinket sitting into the bush off to the side. spots out Piglet, who's going for another ambush. He's been playing that strategy a lot on this LeBlanc, and I can't fault him. It's been working pretty well. Denny, ooh, and I was talking about that Karma damage earlier. That is exactly what I meant. One empowered Q from Karma, and I believe an auto from Vayne. I think an auto hit. Brings Denny down to half of his hit points, and he's got no lifesteal in that build so far. Going a very aggressive build with the Infinity Edge and Yumu's means that he hasn't got any sustain built in there, aside from his Doran's Blade, of course, which gives a little bit. But not really enough for these sorts of situations. Ooh, Vayne is caught way out of position, going really, really far down on hit points, but not going to zero. OddOne coming in to help him out a bit, and finishes off Vi. Well done by Styxiax to get out of that situation alive. I thought for sure he was dead within the first second. Denny dashing forward onto Piglet, getting some good damage onto him. Here's the Grand Skyfall, and the flash forward for the Ignite from JL finishes off the kill onto Piglet. Meanwhile, I Win Now is bringing down Morgana as Denny brings down Vayne. Now Win Now chasing towards the tower, trying to get in onto the Karma as Denny pops his Yumu's for that little bit of movement speed, but doesn't quite want to go under the tower. Wants instead to destroy the tower. They're going to dash forward. They're going to take that out. JL gets taken fairly low from the damage output of Karma's Q, but not really low enough to stop them from pushing the tower. And the Karma Q damage, which I did mention earlier, hasn't really saved them in these team fights, but it has the potential to. So keep an eye on the empowered Karma Qs. They are going to be very, very important as we move on, since it's one of the major sources of damage from Purple Team, as well as one of the major sources of wave clear. LeBlanc has decent wave clear on Distortion, and with all of that cooldown reduction that Piglet has been putting into his build there with the Morello and the Fiendish Codex, he's going to be able to Distortion fairly often, so clearing the waves is going to be a lot easier for him than normally it would be for a LeBlanc, but still Distortion puts LeBlanc right in the middle of things, and we've already seen before that the enemy team is perfectly capable of reacting quickly enough during the Distortion animation to be able to affect Piglet. So he's getting himself into a bit of a dangerous situation whenever he chooses to go in with the Distortion for wave clear. Chain lands onto Denny, second chain lands onto Denny, and he dashes in with the Distortion, and that is all the damage Piglet needs. Denny going to be falling over in the bottom lane, and both times he's died, it has been because Piglet has caught him out and Piglet has ambushed him. So very good LeBlanc play so far, really keeping his team in the game here. Piglet not wanting to let go of this game quite yet. Matt Life chasing after OddOne through the jungle. Both teams are kind of dancing around each other right here. They both have pretty good methods of initiate, but neither one really wants to start the fight. OddOne maybe caught out a bit by Win Now, but he's going to back away too. Neither side really has enough vision around this area to know whether or not it's an ambush to either side. But oh god, the damage from Win Now. He is unstoppable as he brings Piglet down to the ground nearly instantaneously. He falls himself for it, giving up the shutdown gold to OddOne. And that is a trade 1-for-1 top laner for mid laner. DocXM going to be continuing the fight by going right in with the Vi ult onto OddOne. He gets the double kill, he leaps out, but he's burning from the Ignite. Matt Life going to pick up that kill on the support Thresh of all things, and keep on chasing down after Highlight Reel and Smoothie along with JL, but JL might have bit off a bit more than he could chew. There's the damage from Highlight Reel, going to be shutting him down as Denny's in for the fight as well, and he's in for a penny, in for a pound with an auto attack or two. Brings down that Karma, picks up the kill for himself, his 9th of the game, and it looks like he's building into that Trinity Force. Going to be another huge damage spike once he gets that, so that's another thing to look out for as Styxiax. Styxaxix, I don't know, lots of X's and a few other consonants, comes together to form the unpronounceable name which that Vayne has and is pushing middle lane with. So, ooh, hook doesn't quite land onto Morgana, though there was a spell shield, so not really that big a deal even if it had. And Matt Life had nobody around to follow him up, so it was more of just a look what I can do sort of move than an actual attempt at an initiate. Piglet using the Distortion to clear the waves out in the bottom lane, just as I mentioned earlier, and it looks like the dragon's going to be respawning. Matt Life has a pink ward on it, and Denny's going to go ahead and get the crab, and that means they have a lot of vision here, and the crab vision means that it's a lot of vision that the other team can do nothing about. That is one of my favorite things about the crab little shrine of speed and vision that it gives to you. Pink wards can be killed fairly easily. Green wards can be swept and taken out of commission. The crab buff cannot be dealt with. The enemy team cannot do anything about it. You have vision, they can't stop it. Flash forward from DocXM, but chasing after that Vayne is kind of in vain, if you'll pardon the terrible humor, and he is not able to continue the chase any further than a fairly fruitless flash. Alliteration is fun. Sweeping out a green ward. Going to take that down and head on over towards the bottom lane. Piglet was pushing, and it looks like they were going to be trying to intercept him, but he's heading on back to base. He knows what's up. He doesn't want to stick around. Yeah, he's going to head on right back to base, pick up some items, come out of base with those home guards ablazing, and get back to bottom lane and continue his split pushing once the enemy team kind of lets up on the pressure on that side of the map. It's been a decent enough strategy for him so far. He's got 2 ambushes down in the bottom lane to his name so far, on both on Denny, so both on the most powerful member of the enemy team. So the strategy's been good. I think it's basically the only strategy that he can resort to at this point as well, because team fighting really isn't going to work for his team. They're not very good at it in the first place. They've got a lot of pick with the long-range binding from Morgana, with the Kazakhs, and with the LeBlancs. So if they want to win this game, they're probably going to have to stick to their strengths and focus on what they do well. And if that's pick, then that means that they're going to be trying to pick people off, which is why Piglet's LeBlanc has been split pushing this bottom lane this whole time. Looks like he's down here with the TheOddone, though. They don't know that TheOddone's here, and it looks like they're setting up for another ambush. But it might be a little bit ill-fated, since TheOddone is on the other side of the map right now, and Baron is being not really started, but vied for. At least vision of Baron is being vied for. Blue team is really winning that contest. There is a single very low health ward that the enemy team knows about, sitting near the Baron pit, and that's all that they have on the side of red team. So it's going to be very difficult for them to go for this fight unless they can get a blue trinket placed at just the right moment. Very well done by Vayne. Those blue trinket plays are underrated. I mean, it doesn't take too much skill to point and click trinkets on a huge radius, but it takes game knowledge and game skill to understand when and where is the best time and place to use it. So well done there as the Yumu's Ghost Blaze pop by Denny. He's going to be going in. He pops the culling as well. And Staxiax is going to be going down. Stixax. Woo! That name is difficult. Denny is going to be pushing up the middle lane right after bringing down his counterpart AD carry. He has a hunger for minions and towers, and it's probably going to be sated here. Nice damage coming out from Karma onto Jail. He goes down very, very low. That was a Q from Morgana and a empowered Q from Karma, bringing him down below half health as Odd1 is playing the ninja again. He has the Raptor buff, so he knows that nobody can see him, and he pops out right into the jungle, right into their faces for just a second. And a second is all he needed. He brought down Ari, who was already low from the Karma damage, and they capitalize on that hefty amount of damage that they had dealt. So well done by Odd1, and if they can keep getting these picks, they can pull themselves back into the game, but they need to stop giving up team fights and giving up objectives. The dragon has been stacked 3 times on blue team at this point. To be fair, they only have a 1-turret lead, which is really good. That's admirable from the side of red, with how far behind they've been slowly falling and falling. The fact that they are only 1 turret behind is really well done, really well played by the side of red team, and can probably be accredited to the fact that Piglet has been keeping so much pressure on this bottom lane that nobody's really been able to do much on the rest of the map, as Stixiax is caught out of position once again, flashing over the wall. The Ignite, though, is going to keep vision of him. He does manage to escape with the help of the speed buff from Karma, though. Shield as well, keeping him safe from that Ignite, as the chain flies out from Piglet. Doesn't hit onto anything down towards the bottom lane. DocXM sent down here to stop the push. He finds Piglet in the bush, and he deals a ton of damage. He's going to keep on chasing as Piglet turns around and tries to do some damage of his own, but it's not going to be enough before DocXM finishes him off with the Assault and Battery and an auto attack or 2 more. Heading on back home with that gold in his pocket. He's probably going to purchase something. Yeah, looks like, ooh, he's going with a lot of magic resistance. He knows where the threat is on the other side, at least right now. Later on, Vayne's going to become more and more of a threat, but right now the real threat on the other side is Piglet on that LeBlanc and Highlight Reel on the Karma. So the 2 AP carries essentially on the other side. So picking up all of that magic resist is going to make it very, very difficult for them to deal with this Vi. And I mean, Pantheon's gone and done the same thing. So both melee, bruisery, in-your-face carries on the side of blue team are going to be incredibly difficult for red team to contend with, probably until about 35, maybe even 40 minutes into this game when Vayne really comes into her own. So they need to keep stalling, and they've been doing a decent enough job so far, but if the Baron is going to be under contention, they might need to pull out some more drastic measures before they can stall this game out to 40 minutes. DocXM, though, very nice binding from the Morgana on the other side, so he got caught up. right next to Baron, took a ton of damage, and he's going to have to head on back to base before they can really consider any more attempts at this giant purple snake monster. So he's going to head back to base, he's going to heal up, maybe pick up an item or two more. Just grabs a pink ward for his inventory, that's a good idea. Getting vision control around Baron is almost as important as getting Baron, since it pretty much always leads to getting Baron, unless some sort of steal or fluke happens. As Matlife wanders around, looking to try and maybe make a pick happen. He's been very aggressive this game, and he does land the hook onto Odd1. Damage coming out from Denny as well is going to get him the killing spree, as Win now comes in with the Skyfall a little bit late, but he's here with the team. It's the token effort that counts. DocXM going right on towards Smoothie, going to be trying to finish off that kill as Matlife throws out another hook. Second one of the game, or of the fight, not of the game, there's been a lot more than two. Second one of the fight, forcing a flash away from the other side. And they're going to go ahead and take the kill and flash advantage and head down towards the Dragon Pit. And this might even be more important than the impending Baron, which could be happening, as Denny flies along the Thresh Express. And the Tower Destruction Dragon buff is dropped onto the blue team. I believe that's the 4th buff right there. And it gives them 15% increased damage to structures and turrets, which means they will be melting those towers like butter, seeing as they do have a 3 AD team, along with a Triforce Lucian. You can toss out a W or maybe just dash around and get his passive proc, which affects towers, get the Trinity Force proc, which affects towers, and get that 15% increased damage on both of them, which, well, affects towers. That's how damage works. Win now, going up to the top lane with DocXM, clear out some minions. And we have a little bit of a quiet moment, but it's kind of quiet before the storm, since I believe the next team fight is going to either lose the game for a red team or just keep them in it for a little bit longer, and then the next fight after that will do the same, and the next fight after that will do the same, and it'll keep on in that pattern until maybe 45 minutes, maybe 40, maybe a little bit sooner than that, between 40 and 45 minutes from now, when Vayne can become a really huge threat. Vayne is powerful currently. I'm not saying that Vayne is entirely shut out right now, but Vayne is not at the point where Vayne can go Vayne all over the enemy team. You know what I mean if you've ever played against a Vayne at 45 to 50 minutes into a game of League of Legends. Not quite at that point yet. Needs probably one, maybe two more items. Probably one more item will do it, and then a defensive item after that. So it looks like this Vayne here is building into a Bloodthirster. I kind of like that pick. I kind of like it and I kind of don't. But down in the bottom lane, Mr. Highlight Reel is getting stunned up by Win now. DocXM coming in to follow up some CC, and that is going to be one of the simplest, straightforward kills of the game so far. And they're both going to be rushing up towards top lane as soon as they can after finishing off the kill, because they have the man advantage on the board right now. They just have to get across the map over to that Baron pit, and they can start it up and have a very, very good chance of being able to finish it off. Odd1, ooh, gets burst down incredibly quickly. Denny does massive tons of damage right now, and the hook lands on a Piglet over the wall. Very well thrown there. And the culling not going to hit anybody, but going to scare him off, as Win now and DocXM go after the Baron, and duoing it for now. JL tossing an Orb of Deception and some Foxfire over the wall as well, trying to burn it down with his team. But otherwise, standing in that little bush there, he has a pink ward, so he knows that nobody can see him, and looking to maybe get an assassination. He spots out Smoothie's Morgana, and the Deathfire, grasping some Foxfire damage, is going to be doing the trick, bringing him down. Denny dashing over the wall for the final auto attack. His Stixie Axe is caught out of position as well. He's going to be going down for the double kill, as blue team does pick up the Baron off to the side, and it triggers a surrender vote from red. 4 votes for 0. Well played by both teams there. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Challenger Casts. I am Octavian. I will see you all tomorrow. You're all wonderful. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, comment, whatever it is you feel like doing. And if you want to catch me when I'm live casting for organizations like CSL or the ESL or whatever it is I happen to be doing, go ahead and check me out on Twitter. You can find the link in the description. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. You're all pretty wonderful. I'll see you tomorrow.